Hello and welcome to InFocus. I'm G. Sampath. The 2025 Wimbledon Championships are starting on Monday. And as you all know, it is the only Grand Slam that happens on grass. And grass also happens to be the shortest of all the seasons. It's shorter than clay, shorter than, of course, the hard court season as well. And we've had two Grand Slams so far. The first one, Australian Open on hard courts, won by Jannik Sinner. The second one, many people haven't, so far as I know, recovered from the epic final between Sinner and Alcaraz, which went on for 5 hours, considered to be one of the all-time great tennis matches ever. And now we've had the third Grand Slam of the year, and there is a lot of excitement and anticipation about it. Also, because not only because of the rivalry between Sinner and Alcaraz, but also because many people anticipate that this might be the best chance for Novak Djokovic, considered the GOAT of tennis, to get his 25th Grand Slam. So, what are the chances for each of these three contenders? What does the draw look like for the men's and the women's side? And who are the dark horses, the dangerous outsiders, maybe outside the top 30 or top 50, who can throw in a surprise or two? We discuss all these questions in this preview of Wimbledon 2025. And joining us today, my colleague Ziya Salam, who's a journalist, author, and an aficionado of tennis. I've always wanted to use the word aficionado in a podcast. Welcome to the pod, Ziya.
Thank you, Sampath. And you know what? It's great to be talking about Wimbledon. Wimbledon is one tournament you look up to because it comes with delicious possibilities. At the French Open, you by and large know who are likely to be your quarterfinalists and who is likely to be the winner, or at least the finalists. Same for the Australian Open and the US Open. The Wimbledon is the only tournament where you will always see some unlikely name in the main draw springing right onto the quarters or the semis or the finals. Like over the last 10 years, we have seen somebody in the women's section, somebody like Redwanska reaching the final, somebody like Vera Zvonareva reaching the finals, Eugenie Bouchard, she also reached the
We had
finals.
Tatiana Maria reaching the
Yeah,
semis,
and
and she has
Maria,
won the
yeah,
Queens this
she's
year.
just won the Queens, and she's always
And she was not
formidable on
heard of
grass.
throughout the year till date. I mean, this year she
She,
was,
grass is where she really comes
yeah.
to the fore, much like Sabine Lisicki of Germany in the past. And Sabine is still active, but not no longer in the reckoning for our top honors. So grass is one place where you actually enjoy as a tennis fan, not necessarily as a fan of a particular player.
I completely agree when it's a pity that there is only a 1 month window for the grass
Yeah,
season. But it starts after the French Open ends. You've got a few tournaments, Harley, Queens,
yeah.
you know,
And
Etogen
Nottingham
Bosch.
Open, Eastbourne, etc.
Yeah, and then once Wimbledon
Yeah.
gets over, it's back to the
It's like
hard
if
courts.
you snow for a month, you miss the grass court season.
Yes, absolutely. So, Zia, getting to the preview part of this episode, what are your thoughts on the draw? I mean, the draw I think, came out just maybe
Draws just
15
come
minutes back.
out, and for honestly speaking, I'll ask you for the men's section, whom would you pick? Will it be Sinner with all his past, or will it be Alcaraz with all his future?
Right. When I was actually going to go with Sinner, up till maybe the last week or so, and then I saw Sinner playing against Bublik at Halle Open, and he lost to Bublik, and that was quite a sort of a turnaround in my head, at least. I think Sinner still needs to work on his movement on grass, and Bublik
But you
sort of
must
exposed him.
understand, Bublik
Yeah.
is very much a dark horse on at Wimbledon and at any grass court tournament. The way he moves, and he's a good serve, and he doesn't have a bad volley. So
Right.
when Sinner lost to Bublik, there's no shame.
Yes. But I think Sinner will be a strong force to contend with at Wimbledon because it's a match played over 5 sets, unlike the ATP tournaments. I think he has weapons and tools in his arsenal to sort of tweak things around and find solutions on the
You
court.
talked of weapons and tools in the same sentence. Does Sinner really have the weapons to upset somebody like Djokovic? Probably he's likely to meet him in the quarters if all goes according to the draw.
Djokovic, I probably would doubt, yeah, because Djokovic is quite comfortable on grass vis-a-vis Sinner, and I think he probably has some kind of a psychological edge over him on grass as well. I think a couple of years back he came back from 2 sets down
Yeah.
against Sinner and defeated him. I think Sinner might still be.
See, Djokovic reached the finals last 2 years also, and he's a seven-time winner. He has many things at stake this time. If he wins it this time, then he will equal the record of Roger Federer, 8 titles in all in the Open era. How do you look forward to that?
Well, it will be a fantastic achievement for sure, and I'd be quite happy if you were to, reach that
But is
milestone.
it likely, considering there is a gentleman called Alcaraz in the draw?
That is a big question. I think it'll be very difficult for him. I wouldn't really be putting my money on Djokovic there. I wonder
Okay.
what you make of that matchup.
See, sentimentally, I will be rooting for Djokovic, but as a practical follower of tennis, I think it's difficult to look beyond Alcaraz at the moment.
Why do you say that?
Alcaraz is
What?
formidable. He's good from the baseline, rather awesome from the baseline, but he's got good aggression and a good mixture of defense. And that is what you need to be at the top. And his movement has improved over the last couple of years, and that is how he won the last two Wimbledons. Remember, he defeated Djokovic. He didn't defeat somebody like Nick Kyrgios, whom Djokovic had defeated earlier. With all respect to Kyrgios, he has got all the weapons in his armor except the temperament. So it's easier to run down Kyrgios in the final in comparison to playing Djokovic or somebody like that. And Alcaraz managed to do that not once but twice over. I won't rule it out for the third time.
Okay, speaking of Kyrgios, many people compare Alexander Bublik with Kyrgios because of the whole entertainment vibe which
Yeah.
he brings to the court. His underarm serve, which Kyrgios also does. But I think compared to Kyrgios, Bublik has a greater drive to win.
Is he
He
getting right
gets
to win?
he's
He's
more locked
greater
in.
focus. He
Yeah.
has better
Do you think
focus.
he would make a deep run this time, Bublik?
I won't rule it out. I won't rule it out. If he gets going in the first two, 3 rounds, then he'll be dangerous.
Right. Also, I think one way for your sentimental favorite Djokovic to actually win the title would be if someone else takes out Alcaraz.
Well, there is always a possibility, but I guess the best way is to defeat the best players. You win Wimbledon, and there are no shortcuts. It's a Grand Slam. It's not some ATP 250 or 500 event where one guy does the dirty work for you, and then you come and win the final. If you are at a Grand Slam, particularly at a place like Wimbledon, you got to beat the best to beat the champion.
Yeah, but that doesn't always happen. You may
See,
remember.
Roger Federer won it 8 times in his career.
Mhm.
And when he was winning it for 8 times in his career, he wasn't defeating world number 60 or 70. He was defeating Nadal, he was
Yeah, but it
defeating
doesn't really
Djokovic.
happen every time because you might remember Dominic Thiem on the US Open. That
Yes.
was the year Djokovic was disqualified. So
Yes.
the only Grand Slam he won
Yeah,
is
but
that
maybe
one.
that is stroke of luck, yes. But
Yeah.
otherwise,
So.
grass also comes with delicious new possibilities every time.
Mhm.
You see, if you go back in time a little bit, you see Goran Ivanisevic winning it in 2001. Agreed, he was forever the favorite to win at Wimbledon, but he
Mhm.
won it only once. And
Yeah.
similarly, in the women's draw, Jana Novotna was said to be the favorite every time, but she won it only once. So that is what brings everything to the fore. And we have somebody like South African Kevin Anderson reaching the
Mhm.
finals in the past just on the basis of his serve. So
Mhm.
if you do a couple of things right on grass, good serve,
Mhm.
good volley, you have a good chance.
Yeah, no, to mention one more example of this alternative route to winning Wimbledon for Djokovic. If you remember Roger Federer's only French Open, it came when someone else took out Nadal, right? So that's a nice precedent. We'll
Yeah,
probably hope for that in case it
one can
happens.
always live on hope, but you
Yes.
cannot bet on hope.
Right. So coming back from the past to the present, Zia, I want your take on this these various contenders. I wouldn't say contenders, the dark horses, the dangerous outsiders. Many of whom are not really outsiders. They've just recently exited the top five, top 10, and they are really solid players. Like Medvedev, Rublev. What is happening with these guys? I mean, is he still the same player? Like we've seen him.
Medvedev can come back to top five all over again, and we just saw him winning the hallway, other than reaching the finals there. But as far as Rublev is concerned, I guess he lacks that killer instinct. He's good when he plays world number 20, 30, 40. But some of the other, he seems to have a psychological problem when he's up against the top 4, 5 players. So he'll always be around 10, 12, 14. But he's good, but maybe not good enough.
Right, and what about the home favorite Jack Draper, who I think is seated above
Well,
Djokovic?
doesn't the British media always play up their players?
They
I
do.
saw it back in the 80s, the way they used to root for Joe Dury in the women's section. And then we saw how they used to root for Tim Henman. And we both know what they did in their career. So I will not be surprised if Draper is being talked up for maybe sentimental or patriotic reason. But honestly speaking, I don't see him winning the Wimbledon.
But he made the finals of the US Open last year, right? So do you think see him as a potential
If you talk of
semi-finalist?
hope and luck,
Okay, right. And there are many people who say that Taylor Fritz, I think, is the third strongest grass court player as of today, and
third
he's
strongest basically means you are reaching the semis.
yeah.
If he reaches the semis, it's good for him.
Mm.
But his time will come, but not at the moment. If honestly speaking, if I had to put my money on any dark horse beyond say Alcaraz and Djokovic and maybe Sinner and others, then I'll bet on Bublik and maybe a little bit just an outside one, Fonseca.
Right. Fonseca lost to Taylor Fritz, by the way, I
Yeah,
think
I know,
yesterday.
but he has a lot going for him, and the years to come we'll hear much more about him than many others. He and Leica together will probably make the next generation to come up.
Right. I think Fonseca, I think, is also part of a pack of young next-gen
Yeah,
players.
that's what I said.
Lerner,
Yeah,
Jakub, Menchik. Menchik has been getting
Magic has
some
been
good
doing pretty well of
good
late. In
results.
fact, he did well at the French Open also, and he has adapted pretty well to the grass courts.
Right. And what about Holger Rune, who's been changing coaches a lot? I mean, he has had some good results, and then he sort of
Sampath, I'll ask you one thing. If a
uh,
player has been changing coaches from one season to another, what does it say?
it
It means that
says,
he's looking for something better and he hasn't quite got what he wanted. So let's see. He himself is not sure where he stands.
yeah. I mean, we also sort of keep reading reports saying that he's very impatient. He wants to make the cut.
He has been in the top 10 for quite a while, in fact, in the top 6, 7 also for quite a while. But he hasn't been able to take the next step. It's a question of having the tools but no weapons.
Hmm.
So that day he is able to add a few weapons to his armor, then maybe we can talk seriously about him at any Grand Slam. Until then, he'll be good enough to make the fourth round.
Right. And by the way, I just remembered. I mean, there's one player. In speaking of dark horses, whom I would say is a dark horse is Yuri Lechka. He made the
Even I,
finals.
even I used his name, but
He's the only guy who stretched Alcaraz. Alcaraz didn't play any top 30, top 50 player in his entire run to the Queens finals. And I think,
and that was in a smaller ATP tournament. What
hmm,
has been his record in in a Grand Slam so far?
I don't know. You tell me.
He hasn't made the quarters or semis anywhere yet.
Hmm.
So he's very much an outsider. I'll be happy if he breaks the monopoly of the top four, top six, and makes it to the quarters. But honestly, at this juncture, I don't see him making the cut.
Okay, we'll find out
But I'll ask
soon
you about
enough.
the women's circuit. We have been talking of the men's only. What about the ladies? How do
Yeah,
you look at Swiatek? She has
Schwantek.
won more Grand Slams than any contemporary player, active ones.
Yeah, yeah, but it's. I mean, I don't think grass is her favorite surface. She has got this extreme forehand grip, which doesn't really help when the where the
Does
ball
she have
stays
very
low.
many people who call her the favorite?
On
Uh,
at Wimbledon, I doubt it.
Overall?
At Wimbledon, I doubt it right now. I think Vondrousova is a
Hmm.
front runner for sure. She's a former champion. Then you have Paolini, who's a finalist last year. She hopefully would have improved, learned from last year's lessons.
But she just lost to Ons Jabeur, and Ons Jabeur is not at her best at the moment. Far from it.
Paolini lost to Ons Jabeur.
Yes, and in straight sets
Okay,
in
okay,
Germany. And Ons Jabeur had to qualify for the tournament, and
right,
she defeated Paolini in the main draw in the second round.
right. And John Ons Jabeur lost in straight sets to
To after
Vondrousova.
to Vondrousova.
Right.
I would personally say Vondrousova. I understand just about 15 days ago she was ranked 164 in the world.
Hmm.
But that is largely because of her injury and being out of action for a long time.
Yeah.
But when it comes to grass, I think she is a formidable force. And I will not rule out Ons Jabeur if she's able to get her act together in the first two, three matches. She has been hampered with a number of injuries, wrist, knee, etc. But if she's able to be healthy on the court and is able to put her act together, then she will be formidable. Remember, she has made two successive finals at Wimbledon, one
Right.
of which she lost to Rybakina and the other one she lost to Vondrousova. So she could make a deep run this time. But I'll be very surprised, honestly speaking, in the women's section, if somebody were to prove better than Coco Gauff.
Right. I mean, Coco Gauff, I think she's got a nice all-court game. She's sort of flexible enough to sort of make
When
adjustments to the
she first
grass.
made a splash on the circuit, Coco Gauff defeated Venus Williams in the first round some 5, 6 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay, Venus was well past her prime at that time, and Coco Gauff was just beginning. But Venus, even as a shadow, was a good enough player at the grass court at any time, and
Mhm.
Coco defeated her with ease. And since then, she hasn't looked back.
Yes, Coco Gauff, I think, is a
Her
strong.
weak point was clay court earlier, and she has
Mhm.
overcome that weakness now.
Yeah, she's one on clay, she's one on hard. I think the only challenge left for her in terms of surfaces is grass.
She's been doing well on grass too.
Yeah,
I don't see her really falling early, and if Coco makes it to semis, then I think she's gonna be the winner rather than Sabalenka or Swiatek.
yeah. What are your thoughts on Sabalenka's chances? Because she's the world number one, but not many seem to be talking her up so much when it comes
I
to
guess there's a
Wimbledon.
reason behind it. Sabalenka plays a lot of tournaments and maybe she gathers a lot of good points over there. But some of the other, whether it is Wimbledon or even the French Open to lesser extent, Sabalenka has not quite been the force. If you see French Open in the past, last few years, Swiatek has been ruling the clay and Sabalenka has not quite been at the same level. And when it comes to grass, she's yet to get her act together.
But I wonder what is missing because she's got all the tools for grass. She's got a powerful
She's got a
serve.
powerful serve. She's got good ground strokes, but she doesn't come to the net.
Right.
She's too tied to the baseline.
Yeah, I think that is a
And when
problem.
you're tied to the baseline, you cannot go to the top at Wimbledon.
Yeah, but there is also this other view which holds that this might have been a problem if you were playing at Wimbledon, say 20 years ago. Now that Wimbledon has become much
Much
slower,
slower.
yeah, so it doesn't really matter so much if you don't come to the net. I mean, Djokovic and Federer, even Federer can come to the net, and he did, but he did. He won many Wimbledon without really bothering to come to the net.
But
So I don't think
Federer
that's
was Federer.
yeah. No, but even
See,
other
nobody has won
players.
8 Wimbledons now in the professional era. He
Hmm,
did. The
yeah,
closest is Djokovic with 7. Even Djokovic comes forward when he needs to. I'm
yeah.
not saying he's a very good volleyer, but when he needs to come to the net, he does come to the net. There are players who are just maybe not brave enough to come to the net because when you come to the net, it's like a bit of a lottery.
You're
You
out
need
of
to have
your
you need to have a good arm stretch, and you need to be really good at your toes. If the other guy is able to give a drop early, then obviously you need to have a lot of confidence. And I remember from 2000 to 2010 in the women's section, there was always a Williams in the final. Serena Williams or Venus Williams, and Serena won 7 Wimbledons in her career, and Venus won 5 of them. And one of the reasons was both the sisters were very happy to come to the net, and when they used to come together as a team and as a doubles team, then nobody could beat them. And again, the reason was they had both had a very formidable serve, and they were very happy to volley. It took a lot to come to the net against Venus or Serena. Similarly, in the men's section.
right. I think this ability
Why do
to
you think
feel
somebody like
comfortable.
Goran Ivanisevic did
Mm,
well at Wimbledon while he would always lose early at the French Open?
yeah. No, coming back to the present, Zia, you keep going back to the past players. Now, among the present players, who do you think has the best net game in the men's and the women's? Do you think because most people are they spend
In the
most of
women,
the
I've told you, Vondrousova
yeah
followed by Jabeur. They're
yeah.
both outsiders.
Jabbar, I think, is lacking in power
They
to
are
some
not in
extent.
the top 50, either of them. None of them would be seeded. So let's see what kind of draw they get.
Mm,
But if you are talking of grass court game, then Vondrousova has a wonderful grass court game, good game awareness also. Jabeur has probably the best drop shot on the entire circuit.
mm,
Where she lacks, as you said, is a killer instinct.
mm. Also, the Paulini who made the first finals
Paolini
yesterday.
has really come of age in the last 1.5 years
But
because
what is it?
till work.
What is it about Paulini's game that makes her take on
See,
grass?
Paolini has really worked hard on her game. She was essentially a clay courter. But then she added those tools to her game. I won't say that she has the best service still, but it's a serve to get by at least on grass. And she has definitely improved her mid court game. Earlier, she was just tied to the baseline, and she would remind me of, again, I would say, Thomas Muster of the bygone era. But now she has a good par packed game, at least when it comes to the mid court. She doesn't come to the net yet, not very
Mm.
often. But you cannot rule out Paolini, and she reached the semi-finals last year again, and which she lost to Krejcikova. And
Right.
talking of Barbara Krejcikova, she is one underrated achiever. She was world number two at one time in singles and world number one in doubles. And she has got two singles titles in Grand Slams. So you cannot rule out a person like Krejcikova. Unfortunate that the Wimbledon seeding committee did not take that into account when they gave her 17th seed this time. Left to me, she should have been in the top 16 at least. I had somebody like Aryna Sabalenka, who is really yet to make a mark at any of the Grand Slams. He's yet to win any of the singles title there.
Yeah, Krejcikova, she keeps winning this Grand Slams out of the blue, and then everybody keeps writing her
We don't
off.
talk of Krejcikova as winning out of the blue. She
Mm.
picks and chooses the tournaments, I would say.
Yeah, out of the blue in terms of the lay audience. I mean, they don't really
Yeah,
see her
because she's
name.
not as active on the circuit as many of the other girls. Like,
Yeah.
you will not find her name winning 40 matches in a year. But there will be
Mm.
other girls who will be winning 40, 45 matches and they'll be ranked in the top five. Krejcikova is not as active on the circuit. She picks and chooses her tournament, and rightly
Mm.
so. So that is the way going forward in the long run.
And what about home favorite Emma Raducanu? Uh,
Why don't you talk about her?
there were a lot
Raducanu
of.
won US Open. After that, what has she done? All yours.
After that, she has changed a lot of coaches. She's had
Yeah.
a lot of injuries, a lot of surgeries. Yeah, she is now going to play mixed doubles with Alcaraz at the US Open. So all these things we know.
If she's playing mixed doubles at the beginning of her career, and as you said, so many injuries and so many coaches, where do you think she's likely to go with her singles game?
Yeah, she asked Holger Rune apparently. He said no because I want to focus on singles. Yeah, that was Rune's response when
But
she asked
Alcaraz
him.
may have responded for entirely different reasons.
Yes,
But
entirely
you're
different
talking of
and completely legitimate reasons, of
but you're
course.
talking of mixed doubles, and
Yeah,
there's Coco Gauff there in
yeah.
mixed doubles too, and she has been good on the double circuit and mixed doubles too. And my sentimental favorite, and I know they may not go very far, Jamie Murray with Venus Williams.
Right. I think that's a great
They had teamed up
combination.
a couple of years ago also, and they won a match or two.
What is a combined age?
This time, yeah.
They must be 80
Well,
years
Venus is 45
together.
and she's preparing for Wimbledon. I could make out for last 15, 20 days because she had a hit with Sinner for 3 days.
Mm.
And when you are playing with the top men's seed for 3 days, that means you are preparing for a big tournament. And I am glad that she's coming back to Wimbledon, if only in mixed doubles.
If Sinner has been preparing for Wimbledon by hitting with Venus, I now have serious doubts about his
So I
how
guess he
far
also
he'll
know,
go.
so I guess he also knows his game at grass.
Yeah, great. So we are coming around to the end of this podcast, Zia.
But why
Before
don't
we
you
wrap
talk of
up,
our men's doubles? We haven't talked of our men's
yeah, I
doubles
was going to ask
teams.
you about that actually. Rohan Bopanna and
How
UK
old is he?
Bumry.
You asked me about Venus's age.
Yes, that's
Rohan is 45.
okay.
Venus has won 7 Grand Slams, 16 doubles, 7 singles. What about Rohan?
I think Rohan Bopanna is still there.
He's still there. He had his
Yeah,
best year last year.
yeah.
But I think now, considering the recent results on the ATP circuit, Rohan is living on borrowed time. Our better hope will be Yuki Bhamri.
Yeah, Yuki Bambri was at one point of time our singles hope as well. I think
I
injuries
last
came
I
in the
saw
way.
he was ranked world number 35. So let's see if he makes good progress on the circuit. And in the years to come, he should be around for some time.
Yeah.
Rohan, I guess this could be his sayonara moment.
It could be very much. It could very much be. But before we wrap up, Zia, India's singles hope Sumit Nagal exited in the first round of qualifying. What is going on here?
I guess Sumit Nagal has not really been able to make a splash on the single circuit. Honestly speaking, I understand 2 years ago he was wrong. He was ranked briefly around 68 or so, but after that
This was
he
last year.
last year.
Yeah.
But after that his game has gone downhill, and it's very important to get it
Has
well.
his game gone downhill, or have others in his
No, his game has gone
ranking
downhill. You see,
cohort?
there was a time when he was playing public regularly in early rounds, and losing to him. There was a time when he was
He used
playing
to play with
Sonego
He used to
also.
play with Corentin Mute
Yeah,
regularly.
and Sonego also. And those guys have gone up to World 40, World top
Yeah.
50, and Nagala is out of top 100. So it says a lot. Maybe what he needs to do at this time is just take a little bit of a break, work on his game, particularly on clay, because clay is his strength. And there's a long clay court season. And if he does well on clay, then he comes back to the top 100, top 80. And once you are in the top 80, etc., you don't have to go through qualifying in many of the tournaments. Otherwise, if you have to go through qualifying at Wimbledon, US Open, etc., it's a tough field. You come across many guys who are 80, 90, 100
But I
ranked.
think he's already done this a couple of times, just take a break, work on his game, then focus on the clay court season. And I think it's something he
Like
will
this
have
time, he
to.
wasn't really healthy when the clay court season began. He had to pull out of a couple of tournaments in South America.
But the
So,
problem with this is if you take a break, your rankings go down even more.
yeah,
Then it becomes even more difficult to enter even challenger tournaments.
that is always the case, that it could be difficult, it could be both ways, double-edged sword, as you said. But I guess there comes a time when you have to take a good hard look at your own game and see where are you going, and with the current game, where exactly can you go. You have to look at the destination, not only at the journey.
Right. I think the wait for an Indian men's or women's player entering the main draw of Wimbledon will
Looking forward to
continue.
that too.
Yeah, it will continue, and we have to look forward. Maybe in the next few years, somebody will break through. Maybe Maya Rajeshwaran would break
But
through.
for the
Hopefully,
moment, I'm looking forward to Alcaraz and Djokovic playing each
yes.
other. If it happens with the draw, and maybe in the women's section, I'm looking forward to Vondrousova wrapping it up.
I'm with you there, Zia. On that note, thank you so much once again
But
for
won't you want
joining
Venus
us.
to win the mixed doubles with
So,
Murray?
yeah, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
are all in the same age bracket here. So good for our age bracket. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.